The Philadelphia Eagles have cut down their roster to 53 players, at least initially. Some moves could transpire over the next couple of hours and days. So coming your way on Philadelphia Eagles Now, I'm your host, Chase Sr. We'll take a look at who cracked the 53-man roster, but also we begin with the players who were cut by Howie Roseman and Philadelphia. And a couple of really big surprises all throughout the day. Deon Cain, the big-bodied wide receiver who was certainly battling for a roster spot, he's been let go. Certainly a candidate to return on the practice squad. Anthony Harris was cut, and you're like, okay, what are the Eagles going to do? And then they traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson, a player who I can't wait to watch in the Midnight Green. We already put out a video on him. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already done so. Jack Anderson might get snatched up by a different team, but he was playing really well along this offensive line. He has been cut. Andre Chachere, McCain, Tay Gowan, LaRaven Clark, Marvin Wilson, Kobe Smith, and Mario Goodrich, highlighting this portion of some of the Eagles' cuts today. And then Philadelphia. In previous years, they've gone with 3 quarterbacks on the initial 53-man roster. They're going with 2. Howie Roseman did say a practice squad candidate quarterback is certainly a possibility, but Reid Sinnett did not make this team. Jaquiski Tartt was cut yesterday. So too was Cameron Tom, Carson Strong, Jason Huntley. We covered that on Philadelphia Eagles Now on Monday. Josh Blackwell, Renell Wren, Richard Rodgers. A little bit of a surprise in Greg Ward, seeing him let go. Really good weapon for this team. We'll see if at some point down the road, once he gets healthy, he could return to the city of brotherly love. Noah Togiai, who certainly had a really good preseason, not cracking the Eagles' tight end depth chart. And then Devin Allen, the speedster, world-class speed. I'd love to see him come back to the practice squad. Look, when you don't play football for 6 years, you have an uphill battle, but to make it this far, that's a testament to his ability, his speed, and the weaponry that maybe he can bring this team down the road. Jacoby Stevens, as we talked about, Jack Anderson, Keota Awasika, Kennedy Brooks not making this team. He's a physical back, but I expect the Eagles to go after a physical back through the trade market. Hello, Alexander Madison. Britton Covey among the final cuts. As a return guy, I think he has a place in this league because what he did at Utah was special in the college ranks, but doesn't really offer you much more than that. And then Christian Ellis, John Hightower getting cut, Matt Leo, and Kerry Vincent Jr., rounding out those players who did not make the initial 53-man roster for your Philadelphia Eagles. Among all of those players, want to hear from you in the comment section right now. Going to put you to the test. Give me a name for the most surprising cut. Let me know right now. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Been a blast taking over Philadelphia Eagles Now. When breaking news happens, we have you covered. Hoping to do a live show on Thursday. Did a watch party last weekend. This is the standard for this channel moving forward. I'm going to live up to it and hopefully exceed your expectations. Let's get to 32,000 subs by week 1. I think we can do that because the city of brotherly love and the Fly Eagles Fly fan base, it's the best. Bird Gang holla, youtube.com/Eagles Now, or hit that red sub button right now. Okay, to the players who have officially made this 53-man roster. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Bird's going with 2 quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. Not much of a surprise there because Reid Sinnett was just garbage in that preseason finale against Miami. To the running backs, somewhat odd here, only 3, but I do expect Howie Roseman to bolster this group up. There might have to be a corresponding roster move, obviously, to take place, but as of right now, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. Miles, hopefully the soft tissue injuries stop because he has all-world potential. Do you think the Eagles should trade for a running back? Give me a T for trade or an S for stay put. They could use a physical back on some of those short yardage situations. So let me know what you think right now with that position group in the comment section. Now we transition to wide receivers. And this group, so much improved from last year, especially considering that last year, it was really Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins came on, and then the backups, Jalen Reagor, was disappointing. Obviously, the big story today, Jalen Reagor making this team. No trade materialized in the final hours and minutes leading up to roster cutdown day at 4 o'clock Eastern, but I can't wait to see this roster and this position group on display. And the combination of talent here is really intriguing. A.J. Brown is that physical, big-bodied wide receiver who can basically do everything. Devontae Smith is one of the cleanest route runners in the NFL with the great hands that has for the Slim Reaper. And then Quez Watkins gives you that vertical element and a little bit of a gadget guy. And then the depth is made better because of Zach Pascal. We'll see if a trade does end up happening for Jalen Reagor, but as of right now, he's about wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 on this 53. Now we pivot to tight ends, and I think that Dallas Goedert, he's due for a breakout year. If you look at his numbers last year, they were terrific in terms of yards per target. Basically, every time he caught the football, he was picking up a first down as a bona fide chain mover. I think he could be close to a 1,000-yard receiver this year in this offense. Jack Stoll, Grant Calcaterra, the rookie pick out of SMU who actually retired because of concussion issues, went to Oklahoma early in his college career. He also makes this team. To the offensive line unit, which might be one of, if not the best, definitely one of the deepest in the National Football League that could open up a bunch of running lanes for Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, maybe a different back externally, but also provide pass pro protection for Jalen Hurts. This unit is legit. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo, Lane Johnson, your starters. And then how about some of the backups that you have? Obviously highlighted by Jack Driscoll, Cam Jurgens, Sua Opeta, Andre Diller, my boy Jay Sills in the mix as well. Jack Anderson does not make this 53-man roster. Maybe he comes back on the practice squad. But if you're Jack Anderson, my gosh, you can't be hanging your head considering the guys that you see on your screen right here, the talent, the physicality, the overall ability with the best offensive line coach in the NFL in Jeff Stoutland. Want to get your votes once more down below in the comment section. There are 32 teams in the NFL, and a lot of people were asking me where the Eagles are in terms of their roster from top to bottom among all teams in the NFL. Rank them for me from 1 to 32. I'm somewhere in that like 5 to 10 range. It all comes down to Jalen Hurts with the success or lack thereof for this team here in the 2022 campaign. Eagles Now, proudly presented to you by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Right now and all year, they're offering a 125% deposit bonus, the best deal that any sportsbook has to offer. And no matter where you live, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, beyond, whether sports gambling is legal or not, this deal applies for you. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet, promo code Eagles125 for that 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get an additional $125 back. And how about this? Those fraudulent Dallas Cowboys, type F Dallas in the comment section right now if you're a real one, tied with the Eagles to win the NFC East in terms of the odds at plus 145. Washington Commanders coming in at 5-1. If you're unfamiliar with betting, let's just say you put $1 down on Washington as a value play and they win the division, you get $5 back. And then the New York Giants at plus 750. They could be a dumpster fire this year if we're being honest. Now we flip gears to the defensive side of the football. Eagles defensive line, I like how this group is shaking up. Brandon Graham coming off the torn Achilles. I expect him to be normal BG. He said he's felt as good as he's felt going into any year of his NFL career with his training staff. Fletcher Cox, I think, is due for a rebound year. He said yesterday in a press conference in front of the Philadelphia media that he got into his own head last year with his usage and his play, but I still think that he can be a dominant DT. Javon Hargrave probably did have the best year of his career a year ago in the system. Josh Sweat, really athletic coming around the edge. And then obviously some of the backups, really, really good players. Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Derek Barnett, certainly leading the way there, and I do expect them to get a lot of snaps in this defense in 2022. To linebackers now. Couple of interesting things here because obviously Hassan Reddick is going to be a pass rushing coverage hybrid at that edge and linebacker spot, but this unit, with the addition of Kaiser White, with the fact that TJ Edwards is a pretty solid player, you draft Nakobe Dean, Temple's own Sean Bradley, Kyron Johnson, Patrick Johnson, Davion Taylor, Hassan Reddick. It's been a really long time since we've been able to look at a linebacking group and an overall roster for the Eagles that we can say, is this talented? And honestly, when you canvass the landscape of this entire Philadelphia roster, this is as talented as they've been in a long time. Maybe going back to 2017, maybe even going back to that 2003 season as they made a run to the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl that year against the New England Patriots. Don't want to talk about it. I cried my eyes out at Dave & Buster's in Old City. Cornerback depth chart now. This position group, much improved from a year ago because of the acquisition of James Bradberry as finally a legitimate number 2 cornerback. Darius Slay is one of the best lockdown corners in the NFL. Avonte Maddox, very good nickel. Josh Jobe making the team. Josiah Scott making the squad. Zech McPherson as that mid-round pick out of Texas Tech a year ago, also safe with this roster. And then the big acquisition that we talked about a little bit earlier, CJ Gardner-Johnson. My gosh, I can't wait to see this guy. He had so much swag, so much confidence, so much gusto. He can play nickel. He can play safety. He's a pass breakup machine. His versatility reminds me a lot of a guy like Malcolm Jenkins. And I said a little bit earlier, he's not the physical tackler that Malcolm Jenkins was, but he's not afraid to put his hat on the football. A little bit of a concern here with the safety depth. Can Marcus Epps end up being a good player? We'll see at that free safety spot. Then the backups, Kayvon Wallace and Reed Blankenship cracking this roster. Good job by Blanky for making this team. But the acquisition of CJ Gardner-Johnson really does change the complexion of the secondary. And then lastly, the specialists. Now, I'm not sure who the punt and kick returners are going to be, at least as of now, with Jason Huntley getting released, Britton Covey. I would imagine that maybe Jalen Reagor is back there for punt return duties, but he was not sure-handed at all last year. The specialists outside of the return game, though, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, Aaron Sipos. Obviously, Sipos is your punter. Rick Lovato is your long snapper. Jake Elliott, your place kicker coming off the Pro Bowl season last year. With what Howie Roseman did with some of these acquisitions, with these keepers, also cutting some of these players, how do you think that Roseman did on this initial 53-man roster? Let me know right now in the comment section, A, B, C, D, or F. And before I hop on out of here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Fly Eagles Fly, Bird Gang, EAGLES, YouTube.com/Eagles Now. If you're looking for more Eagles coverage like this, just hit that red sub button, and I'll see you tomorrow with more Eagles coverage.